Good morning, friends, and welcome to New Garden Friends Meeting. It is our practice here at New Garden Friends Meeting to extend a wide and warm welcome to everyone who joins us for worship. You are welcome here, no matter your race or age, no matter your sexual orientation or your gender identity, no matter your politics, your marital status, your abilities, no matter what was the first language that you spoke or your immigration status, you are welcome here among friends. And no matter where you may be on your spiritual journey, whether you are a seeker who is coming to worship for the very first time in your whole life, or whether you are a lifelong Quaker, you are welcome here at New Garden Friends Meeting. Our reading for this morning is a poem by Mary Oliver. It's entitled Mornings at Blackwater. For years, every morning, I drank from Blackwater Pond. It was flavored with oak leaves and also, no doubt, the feet of ducks. And always it assuaged me from the dry bowl of the very far past. And what I want to say is that the past is the past, and the present is what your life is. And you are capable of choosing what that will be, darling citizen. So come to the pond, or the river of your imagination, or the harbor of your longing, and put your lips to the world and live your life. Well, it has been quite a week. Part of me had begun to fear that I was becoming numb to bad news. We have had so much terrible, horrifying news in the last year that I had begun to wonder if I still had the capacity to really be shocked by anything that happened here in our country. But the events of Wednesday, when an angry mob of rioters attacked the heart of our government in DC and attempted a coup, that was, although not unexpected, entirely horrifying. Also not unexpected was the seditious behavior of Donald Trump that led to the events on Wednesday. But again, I found myself profoundly sickened that we had arrived at this place, this moment in the history of our country. It feels like a failure that belongs to all of us. I, like many of you, have never lived in a country where there was an attempted coup. So I am still processing all of what happened on Wednesday, and I am still uncertain of what to expect in the weeks to come. But as I sat and thought about what was happening in our country right now, and all of what we have experienced in 2020, I did realize that we have learned some powerful and important truths over the last almost year that we have lived with this pandemic. And those truths, I think, are going to equip us to move forward into 2021. I think we have learned in a new way how profoundly interconnected we are. It has long been our spiritual practice here at New Garden Friends Meeting to love and care for our neighbors in small ways and in big ways. But this year we have learned in new ways how deeply that matters. We have learned that simple actions, like wearing a mask, could save our neighbor's life. We have learned that responsible social distancing in a grocery store could mean that a stranger lives to see his grandchildren graduate from college. We have learned that whether or not we wish it were so, our safety and well-being is deeply connected to the choices that others make in our society. We were reminded again and again how we can quietly and compassionately love those around us through simple acts and help protect their safety and well-being. For us, we do this out of a sense of our spiritual connection to each person. We Quakers talk often about how each person's life has value, how each person is important to our world, how every person carries that light within. And we were able to act on that belief this year by helping our neighbors not get sick. It was a profound lesson in interconnectedness that we all learned in 2020. We have also learned that we are capable of making truly profound changes. This was clear as we transitioned to digital worship. I had never been on Zoom before we started doing worship on Zoom. We all learned how to use new technologies. We all learned new ways of staying connected to our loved ones and to our communities. We have learned how to innovate and adapt during this pandemic. But we have also seen our country begin to reckon in new ways with the systemic evil of racism. The changes that have been brought about by the activists and organizers, protesters who reminded the world again and again and again that Black Lives Matter, who courageously called our country forward, called us to be a country where Black people do not have to continually fear for their lives at the hands of the police. We have been called forward to be a country in new ways. And thanks to this tireless work, we have seen structures and systems in our society change in ways that would have been unthinkable in 2019. We are changing as a society, and we are changing here at New Garden Friends Meeting. These changes have sometimes been hard. They have sometimes been painful, but they have helped us learn an important and profound truth. Change is possible and change is healthy, and you are capable of changing at any stage and any moment of your life. We have also learned this year that community is essential. We have learned that we need to be with one another in order to be healthy and happy. We have learned that it is easy to become isolated and lonely. We have learned how much we need hugs, how much we need time swimming in the pool with our friends, how much we need breakfast at diners with friends, dinner gatherings, coffee fellowship here in Fellowship Hall, how much we need to sit together on our benches in our worship room. We cannot do these things right now out of a care for one another and out of care for ourselves. And we have come to realize how much we miss them, how deeply we value those ties that keep us tied together as a community of care and compassion and love. We have learned that we all thrive when we belong to communities of love, places where we feel supported and seen and cared for, and that the value of those communities is incredibly high. I might even go so far as to say that it is an intrinsic human need to be part of a community where you are seen, valued, and loved. We have also learned this year that it is our responsibility to protect our democracy. We have learned that we cannot take our freedoms for granted, but instead we must work to maintain the peaceful transition of power that we have all become accustomed to as Americans. That it is our responsibility to help preserve the process of democracy. It requires our action and our commitment to upholding those principles. It takes a massive effort of hundreds of thousands of people to try and make sure that every person who votes feels safe doing so and empowered to do so. That is a project that we are still working on as a country. It takes massive effort to overcome many, many decades of voter suppression. It takes organizing and education, asking and answering hard questions of ourselves to know what we would do and what we would risk to protect our democracy. We have learned again that freedom, justice, mercy, that these things will not prevail in our world unless we are willing to work for them. We have to put in effort. We have to be strong and vigilant and committed. We have been reminded again this year that the work of justice is not easy, but it is essential to our lives as people of faith. We Quakers are called forward to work for peace and to work for justice in our country. These things that we have learned in 2020, and I'm sure the few that I listed are just the beginning of the many things that we have all learned. These things can help us move forward with courage. Our Quaker faith teaches us to live lives of integrity, rooted in our commitment to peace and justice in our world. And as we look into the very unclear future of 2021, these principles of our faith are calling us forward. They are calling us to, in the words of Mary Oliver, be darling citizens who put our lips to the world and who live our lives. How we live those lives, our life of peace and mercy and justice in this world, that will be deeply shaped by what we all have experienced and learned in 2020. Even with the events of this past week, I am hopeful. I am hopeful because I know that we can change together. We know now, or we have dramatically relearned, how profound the troubles and evils of our world truly are. But we have also learned how much our actions matter in protecting the life and well-being of our neighbors and also in protecting our country and the principles of freedom that we care so deeply about. We now know how much our country needs our commitment to peace and justice, that our voice as Quakers matters in this moment in history. We know that we are called to do hard things, but no matter how hard they are, we know that we can do them if we do them together. Ultimately, I am hopeful because I have seen all of you in action, changing and adapting, and learning new ways to practice justice and love in our world. We step forward into 2021, and this moment is very uncertain indeed. We do not know what the next few weeks will bring, let alone the next year. But this first day, I look at all of you and I see us here together as we have been for the last 267 years. A community of faith with ties that are strong and resilient, helping each other move forward toward justice and mercy and love. And I see that we are sustained by that living presence that we know is love. Whatever comes next, friends, we are together.